everyone, and welcome to Katharine's Creatures. This is episode 150, and this is a series where we get to talk a little bit about and touch base upon various mythological creatures, beast beings, and the like pulled from lore worldwide. And I always like to preface by saying that I'm not a linguist, so if I mispronounce anything, I do apologize in advance. And today I'm wanting to talk about the Pocong, and the Pocong is a ghost that comes from Indonesian folklore. And the name actually loosely translates into to wrapped in shroud. And this is referenced because this particular ghost entity is always wearing the shroud or the burial cloth over its body. And that is a very distinguishable marker of it versus some of the other kind of ghost-like entities. Now, when described as what it looks like with the shroud, the shroud itself is always a white fabric, and the idea is that it was tied over the head, around the neck, and under the feet in a way that kind of helped people hold the body when they're moving it and transporting it to the gravesite. And then whereupon reaching the gravesite of the dead person, then everything is untied so the burial can commence and the body can be let be. In the chances that the shroud is not untied and removed appropriately, this is when the Pocong becomes what it is and arises and starts to cause sometimes problems, but other times not. And we'll get into that in a moment. But it is interesting that this it's the first time I was looking into some mythos where they talk about a ghost spirit that actually wears a cloth shroud over it as part of what it is. Now, in Malaysia, the Pocong actually has a variant name, and it's Hantu Bongkus, I think is the way you pronounce it, but essentially it translates wrapped up ghost. And again, the concept of this ghost that has the cloth kind of draped over its form, and just depending on the person, people have so many different body types, and so the Pocong, beyond the fact that it's shrouded, its body type can change dramatically, and all that depends on what the person looked like during their life and how long it has been decomposing before it rose as a Pocong. So if it's more on the decomposed side, think a little bit more of a skeletal entity that's shrouded. Other times especially they're described as fresh, newly dead, they can look fairly human, described as pale, sometimes having very red eyes that kind of glow out from their heads, but again, the shrouded ghost that comes and appears before people. And why does the ghost come? It just depends on the particular Pocong. Sometimes they're trying to relay a message that they really wanted to tell someone, maybe in life, and didn't get the chance. So they're bestowing, bits and pieces of information, be it messages, and again, more on the well-meaning side of things. Other times they're too frightened to scare people and are, deemed a little more on the malevolent side of spiritual entities. Now, they're supposedly in the Indonesian culture, the fear of someone pretending or to be a Pocong. And so if you see someone hopping around or this spirit, shrouded spirit hopping on the ground like a rabbit, that's a clear indicator that this is not a real Pocong, but probably an impersonator, because Pocong hover over the ground. They don't even touch the ground. They hover above it and kind of levitate as they move. So that's a clear indicator that one is probably a person dressed up trying to spook someone, and the other one is the real entity itself. Now, Pocong and some of the lore have been noted to actually live in colonies, be it several dozen all the way to several thousand strong. I don't know what the purpose is for those colonies, and it gives me like a lot of ideas as a writer of all the cool stories that could come out of something like that. But other attributes is that one in particular that's very notable is that certain lore says the Pocong can actually teleport places and can literally jump from one spot to another in a blink of an eye, which also is kind of terrifying, especially if they're more the malevolent version, but pretty neat. So I wanted to point that out. There are a lot of specific stories of Pocong sightings, and if you are interested, definitely look them up. They're very fascinating, but just wanted to give you a little taste of the wrapped in shroud ghost from Indonesia. If you have any questions about this from me or anything else that I write or folklore and fantasy, mythology in general, post them in the comments below or reach out to me on any of my social media. And until next time, everyone, skål.